I am a law enforcement officer of 6 years. I just wanted to let you guys know that anything I say is my opinion and mine only. It does not reflect my current department's opinion or law enforcement as a whole. Thank you. Welcome back to the Secret Society of Man podcast. I am Ryan, and I have my cousin here, Zach, and we are ready to go. So our first story today, we wanted to talk about Nikacado Avocado. A lot of people know him as a very large, or was a very large man that did mukbangs. I think that was the correct term.
That's right.
And recently he came out that he pretty much secretly lost a ton of weight. I mean, I don't remember if they posted the exact number of what he lost, but I would guess it's at least 200 pounds.
I think, it was about 250, I think is what he said.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
It was pretty awesome what he did. Did you watch the video that he posted?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's incredible. It's impressive.
He has always posted videos where he eats tons and tons of food. And at one point, a couple of years ago, he said that he was going to make an effort to lose weight in his videos. Well, if you go on his YouTube channel, he's been posting videos the last 2 years, and he hasn't been posting them that frequently. The most recent video was 7 months ago, and the thumbnail is him super overweight next to his overweight boyfriend making out over a giant pile of spaghetti. And the video before that says, I'm quitting my weight loss journey, and I'm just going to get fat again. And so it seemed like he just failed to lose weight. He's, not even been succeeding in posting videos the same way that he used to, just a complete train wreck. And the entire entertainment value of all his videos was just to make fun of how fat and pathetic he was. Well, the next video he posts was him super skinny, just like he was way back at the start before all of that happened, like it was all a dream. And it was impressive because he could not have done that in the last 6 months since his last video that he posted. So he pre-recorded all of these videos that he's been posting for the last 2 years in a plan to shock everybody. And so the planning that went into this, just to troll everybody and prove everyone wrong, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and what I think, too, about that is, you really look at his journey into fame, right? Some of it you can watch. I think his name's Vsauce or something like that on YouTube, did a quick documentary on him. He covers like a bunch of different YouTubers. And like you said, from where he started out, he was super skinny. In fact, he started out as a vegan, and then he kind of started trying different foods, and then he started gaining some weight and more and more and more and more until he became this 350, 400-pound dude. And, part of it is kind of, when I was looking through this, it kind of reminded me of our story that we covered with the drunk chick that did the national anthem.
Yeah.
Like, negative news is going to cause you to be, like, more famous. And I remember, whether it was true or not, like, he posted a couple of videos where he's like, I don't care about my health. Like, you guys are paying me millions of dollars to eat whatever I want to eat, so I'm not going to change that. And like, people are all concerned and stuff like that, but they're still paying him money. Like,
yeah, and he was doing what his job is. That was his job, just to be made fun of. And that set him up for life. And a couple episodes ago, we mentioned him briefly in regards to another mukbang person that ate themselves to death, so they never got the redemption arc that Nikacado got. But what I said back then was that, nowadays you do have the opportunity to sacrifice your dignity in order to make money online. And this could not have resulted in a better way to prove my point, because that's exactly what he did. He temporarily sacrificed his dignity, and I guess I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say this was the plan all along. He obviously had the discipline to do it. So, maybe this was the plan, but he knew that he just had to let go of his dignity for a while, be a complete laughingstock, make millions and millions of dollars. And I think he's only 32. And so he has the rest of his life to just do whatever he wants. And he's still doing those same videos. He's eating the food or whatever, but he has a completely different demeanor. He's very calm, probably his true self. But how weird must it be to look back at those videos as Nikacado Avocado and just think like, wow, like that, that used to be me. Even if he did it all on purpose and it was all an act, it must be odd to see how you used to be and see how you were portrayed like it was a bad dream.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you look at that, I mean, it's kind of like an OnlyFans person, like I've seen videos where they'll ask these OnlyFans girls, like, what's going to happen in 30 years or even shorter than that when your kids start, like, going on OnlyFans and then they stumble across, like, your profile. Like, do you feel comfortable with your kids looking at that? How are you going to feel about yourself later on? Now, a lot of them say, well, look at the house I'm going to be living in. I don't care, like, about that. I can delete stuff, whatever it may be. But for his mentality, I think he, like you said, he kind of just got his fame. He cashed out. And it seems like for the most part, he's back to where he used to be. I'm sure there's some internal damage that he's done to his body from that. But he has the money to pay for the medical bills later on if need be. But I look, good for him. Good for him. Honestly, I'm happy for him. I mean, if that was his plan and he took care of what he needed to take care of and he got it done, like I said, he cashed out with the money bag on his back while he's walking out the door. Great. Good job. You took advantage of what people look for, which is drama. Have you seen his videos? Like,
yeah, I haven't watched a full one, but I have seen
They hit each other,
them.
and he starts crying and screaming.
Right. And
like,
there's abusive.
People crave that. Like, there's a reason why the Kardashians are famous. Like, that is the Kardashians, just female versions, right? So that's him. So good for him. Makes me wonder where his boyfriend is.
Yeah, I'm
like,
not sure.
As far as his physical state, like, did he follow along with them? Did it cause other issues? The problem is like, I don't know what's real or not with him. Like when he's recording, like a lot of his very early videos before he started gaining weight seemed a lot more like legitimate. He was out with friends. Like it just seemed much more down to earth. Whereas like the mukbangs and stuff were so outlandish. It's just like, this is not a real human being. Like, this is not a normal way of living. And
I watched his most recent one where he's skinny and calm now. And he's almost too serene with the way that he talks. Like, I almost don't believe him now. Like, I feel like if he stays on the internet long enough, he's going to devolve into a monster again. Just by the way that he's... Like, if someone is way too smiley and way too calm and they speak slowly like that... I feel like it is just an act. I don't know how he used to be way back at the beginning. Maybe that's just how he was, but he seems too wholesome now. And so I wonder who is the real Nikacado Avocado? What's his real personality?
Do you think... So I give him a lot of credit in the way of like a lot of people will do things because that's what people want, right? Like if someone were to tell you like, eat that piece of crap and I'll give you like, I don't know, $10,000. Some people would do that, right? Like they would take that dignity away to get that money. But I don't know what to think. Like, was that where he was at before? And then now he's like you said, I'm going to prove you wrong because that's not what I was after all along. I actually preyed on you guys and got the cash for it. And I had the control the whole time. And now I'm back to where I was. Or was it, yeah, I need to do this, and it sucks, and I don't want to do it, but he went against his own self. It's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to think, Like, did he take advantage of his fans, or did the fans persuade him to keep doing this?
This might be him, like, rewriting how it went down. Like, it probably wasn't something that was planned from the very beginning, because I feel that gaining all of that weight is a natural side effect of eating that much food.
Well,
and seeing him eat that much now is off-putting because, like, how are you now going to keep off the weight if you're still eating an entire plate of, like, cheesy pasta? And so I feel like
he's working out a ton a day.
Maybe. Well, what I think it is Ozempic. It's got to be medication.
Dude, the Ozempic, man. Yeah. Oprah Winfrey did that. I mean, all the
celebrities. All the celebrities. Many comedians are on that.
Yep.
And I mean, that stuff does work. My dad is on either that or
really?
some kind of like analog to it, where it's like an off-brand, I guess.
And it works.
Yeah, it does work. And so I've talked to him about it. And I guess what it does is it just kills your appetite. You just feel full
don't wanna eat.
way sooner. And I heard on Tucker Carlson's podcast, he had a guy on there who his wife used to be in that industry, and then she ended up leaving, and now they're kind of activists against this type of thing. And a lot of experts think this is going to be the next opioid crisis because it's being prescribed to everybody.
Yep.
Ozempic, I did some research today. It originally was a blood pressure or a blood sugar medication, so it's very good at managing diabetes.
Sure.
But it also has the effect of making you lose weight. And so this is something that everyone's jumping on. I mean, this is the miracle weight loss pill that many scam companies claim they've had throughout the years, but now it's actually real. But the side effects and the long-term effects of it might outweigh the benefits that it gives a lot of people. If you're morbidly obese like Nikacado Avocado, or you do have life-threatening diabetes, even if there is bad side effects to Ozempic,
you should probably take it.
It's probably going to be an overall gain.
Yes, yeah.
But like my dad, he used to be more overweight, but he's lost a lot. He eats a lot healthier now and is far more active than he used to be. And he's not morbidly obese. So I don't know if he is the right person to be on this drug. What it does is it paralyzes your stomach, so that way you process food slower and differently. Whoa. And it causes a lot of people stomach issues. And that's what this guy in Tucker Carlson was saying, is that it'll give people a lot of digestion and stomach issues. Then a few days later, I talked to my dad about it, and he said he switched medications to a different brand because it was giving him stomach issues. I was reading forums about people that were on Ozempic, and it seems like there's cases where people will still have food in their stomach. Like, you know how when you go to the doctor and they tell you for some cases that you have to fast for 24 hours and just drink clear liquids? Well, they would do that. They would still come into the hospital with food in their stomach because their stomach's just not digesting the food. And if you eat too much at all, then your body just can't handle it, and that's when you start throwing up and things like that. So the other issue with it, too, is that so my dad, I was asking him about it, like, you know, you're going to start hearing a lot of bad things and you're currently on it. Like, I was asking what his goals are with it, and he hopes that he'll be able to get off of it one day, and the Ozempic will help him to create better eating habits because he's now, you know, eating far less, and so when he gets off of it, he'll still be able to eat less. But the problem is that when he gets off it, he's going to have the urge to eat again. He's not creating healthy habits by learning to fight his urges. And there's no self-control there. Like, his body literally doesn't have that hunger feeling. And so as soon as that comes back, he's not going to know how to manage it. And it's probably going to be even worse because he's not had that feeling for so long. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's nuts. That's wild. I mean, like you said, so the Ozempic thing, it kind of, so that brings me back to another, like My 600-Pound Life. You ever seen it?
Yeah.
Crazy. So these people are eating, I mean, we're talking like for a lunch, like one meal, they're eating like 4 pizzas. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm not the most fit person in the world, but if I have to eat more than like one burger or one pizza for a meal, like not a whole day, like I could see eating one pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, you split it up, 2-3 pieces here, whatever. Like, that's your meal for the day.
Well, you couldn't. So, like, if you had a 12-inch pizza, you couldn't smash that yourself. So, let's start this. So, you ever been to Punch Pizza? Like these Neapolitan style?
100%. You can eat that pretty
smash
easy.
One of them, no problem.
Yeah, but my point is I'm not going to get another one.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to be like, yeah, you know, I need 3 more of those. Like, no, dude, I just ate a whole pizza. I'm good. Like, for a while. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't need to, like, so, like, when I watch these, like, My 600-Pound Life, kind of like you were saying, some of these people are going to have to figure out how to manage that. If you don't fix that, it's nuts, dude. Like, it's nuts. Like, the doctor on there is like, here's the deal, like, literally eat 4,000 calories a day and you'll lose weight because you're ingesting 12,000. Like, these people...
That's quite the allowance still. 4,000?
Yeah, or
that'd be quite a challenge to eat 4,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
If I had to, it'd be hard.
Yeah, dude. Like, or he'll say, like, walk a quarter mile. drop pop, and they lose like 60 pounds, like that.
Yeah,
Because
bodybuilders will have to like bulk up,
yeah,
and so they eat tons of food. But like then you can't, like UFC fighters and stuff, they go up a weight class, but you can't keep up that amount of mass. Like you need to put in so much. So all these people got to do is just cut back a little bit, and their body will just like shed it all off.
That's it.
But it's just an addiction, and like I can sympathize with the addictive aspect of it, but I think that we should be able to expect people to have the self-discipline to just stop. Just stop.
You're not a goat. You know what I mean? Like you
Don't
have
you feel-
sensors in your stomach. That's like,
Don't you feel like shit every day when you wake up? It's like alcoholics. Like, look,
Yeah.
like my buddy is definitely an alcoholic, and he's really starting to like feel the effects of it now.
oh yeah, dude.
And it's like, dude, I know you're addicted to it. Okay, I know you like drinking, and he enjoys being drunk, but you wake up every day dry heaving. I can't imagine being 600 pounds feels much better than that in the morning.
Oh no, dude. No, the dry heaving. The other issue with that too is like, if you get some stomach acid up, like if you're doing that every day, your esophagus will disappear because your stomach acid will start eating that away. Not a good day, dude. That's not.
No.
You're gonna start eating through a tube that's connected to your stomach because your esophagus doesn't like exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what?
And like, you ever eat McDonald's and then you like get like a large Big Mac meal or something,
Sure.
and then like you get back to work and you just feel like sluggish?
Yep.
Like, how bad must you feel going throughout your day if that's all if you're the guy that gets the Big Mac meal and then another one of those sandwiches?
So we'll go back to the Nikacado like videos. Like the guy's eating like almost the whole menu, if not the whole menu at like these places. And I mean, you're talking thousands of calories. I mean, even like if I go to McDonald's, my normal meal is just a quarter pounder, medium fry, medium drink, right? That's my typical meal. That in and of itself is like 1,800 calories, that one meal, okay? Imagine that times like 8. Like you're eating like 10,000 calories.
And the calories aside, all the other bad things that are in these foods too.
Oh yeah, dude! Trans fats, sodium.
Your whole system is just mucked up,
jacked up, dude. Like, yeah, it's murderous. But I don't know, man. I think if, like you said, if the Ozempic is like, if you need it, like if you have to have it to like cut weight, that's probably a time where the benefits slightly outweigh the risks for the long term. But if you're 50 to 100 pounds overweight, you probably can do that without Ozempic. You can probably work at like for example, like people drop sugar, they'll lose like 15, 20 pounds, like just from sugar intake. Like they can keep their caloric intake up, but just the sugar alone.
Didn't you cut out pop in your life, and that was like a really big contributor to you being able to like lose some weight? I remember like it was when we were kids, but I thought that like you stopped drinking Coke.
Yeah. So for those that are listening, bro, I was a roly-poly dude. Okay, I kind of am now. I won't lie, but back then I had some chins. Okay, so yes, so part of it was the pop, and really just being cognizant of, like, for example, like if you want pancakes, don't put half the bottle of syrup on there, or like a lot of butter, right? So that kind of stuff, like you can have it, but the golden rule, right? Moderation. Okay. I don't eat McDonald's every day. If I did, that would be a problem. I know of a person near in my life that does eat fast food at least twice a day, and it's not good. It's unfortunate, and it's sad. So that's really all. We probably beat this to a pulp, but it's an interesting conversation to have. I mean, it sucks people having addictions, not just eating, but drinking and other things like that. But
And one more thing that came to mind as you were talking about this is, like, not only the effect it has on your body, but also your wallet. Think of how much it must cost to go eat fast food twice a day. And I used to be that guy. I mean, I there was a period when I was like 19 or 20. I did not go grocery shopping for 6 months. I went out to eat for every single meal, but I had just money to spend, and I was 20. You know, I didn't have a lot of expenses, right? Yeah. So that's what I would do. But imagine like if you're someone that's eating 6,000 calories a day, or you're eating on the level of like somebody that really has a problem, how much money you're spending. And that goes the same with like the smoking and the drinking too. Like if you're going to the liquor store every single day, you must be just blowing through money. And a lot of times it's people that don't have great jobs that are really the least healthy, and they're eating the most shit. And so I don't know how they can even afford that lifestyle.
Well, that's kind of been the main talking point of eating healthy as well. Like, you go to a grocery store, if you want to buy healthy things, like 5 healthy items is about 12 junk food items, right? So, like, for the poor income families, like, I would much rather give my kid Pop-Tarts, where I can buy 3 boxes of that, compared to 2 bags of carrots and a half pound of apples. That's going to cost me.
Do you think that's true? So, I mean, even in that comparison, I mean, so I think that the number one issue is like the planning. So because if you go, and we make a lot of recipes in our house, like we make like a wide variety of stuff. As a result, we do have a heftier grocery bill because like I'm whipping up the Gordon Ramsay cookbook, and he's like having us buy some seasonings I've never heard of.
Wild.
Like I made some like Vietnamese dish the other day, and had to go find some like seasoning that I've never used. And you buy one thing of seasoning, and it's like $10, and you're like, what the fuck?
And
this
then
is so expensive.
Might not ever use that again.
Right, but you got to make sure that you do use it. Like if you plan better, like okay, I'm buying like oregano or something. Like I need to make sure I'm using, if I'm spending $10 on that, I got to make sure that I'm using that multiple times. Or like potatoes. You know, you can buy a bigger bag of potatoes, make sure you're having potatoes multiple times in that week. I think the number one thing is like they say that people don't have enough time to cook, and that's really the issue, or they're too stressed out or like depressed to cook, and that's more believable. But I don't believe the story that it's more expensive to eat bad, especially nowadays with how expensive even McDonald's is. Back in the day when like you can get a shitload of food at McDonald's for like $10, we're out of those days. Dude. But you can go and get a whole pack of chicken breasts and a veggie for the side for the same amount of money that you can buy McDonald's for 2 people.
For sure. I would agree with that. I'm just saying, like, for me, like, I've seen a bag of chips is like $6. And like a bag of carrots is like 6 or 7, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. The point is that there's been issues. I saw on an MSNBC story that did that, where they're like, you know, most families, and the time thing was brought up, most families just don't have the time, and a lot of the junk food supposedly outweighs the cost or duration of fresh food. That was part of it, as well as like a bag of chips will last you typically longer than that if you're not going to use it, right? So then you're throwing money away. So there was other factors there, but definitely, for example, I just had a breakfast McDonald's before I started work last week. It was $14 for a biscuit with a hash brown and an orange juice. $14, dude.
And they're so small.
They're tiny. $14? Dude, like, you know, well, let's see, it's 2024. Back in like 2019, dude, you could buy that for like $8.50. Mm-hmm. It's almost doubled in price, you know? So.
Yeah, I agree, man. No, we should move on from that.
Yeah,
but that was a good conversation. Yeah. So we just wanted to mention that. We thought that would be quick, but the first story for the day is a pastor that was arrested in Las Vegas. So story is that David McGee, who was 61, he is a pastor at the Bridge Fellowship, which is in North Carolina outside of Salem. faces drug charges and gun-related charges connected to his arrest on August 20th at the Strat Hotel, Casino, and Tower in Las Vegas. He told the police that he was visiting Las Vegas from North Carolina and had arrived in a private jet to find his daughter, who he believed was living in a flood control tunnel beneath Las Vegas. So were you aware that Las Vegas has a community of people that live in the tunnels?
Yes. It's similar to California. So they have a lot of underground, like no pun intended, an underground network of people that live in like the sewers and like other areas. It's very common. It adds extra shelter from the sun and stuff like that. Obviously out there they don't get a ton of rain. But yes, I did know that there is like this weird subsection of homeless people out there. And I think to add to that, I think what highlighted for me when I was reading that story was he arrived in a private jet.
Right.
So that tells you what type of person this guy is. Like, he didn't show up on Sun Country. Like, this guy is
he's a mega church pastor.
Correct. Yes.
Essentially.
Yes. So,
and it's amazing how much money there is in this. I mean, whenever you have these online mega churches now, you can make so much money where you have a church that just has millions of people. Like, don't limit yourself to a community church. Like, the real money is in that. And they all have private jets, and they're just living as lavishly as anybody can. I mean, what are your opinions on those people? As somebody that does attend church, what would your objections be to attending a mega church versus that, like a regular one?
Yeah, it's actually interesting that this conversation is coming up because just yesterday, last week, I can't remember. Last time I attended church, they had covered this topic. They had talked about some churches getting ahead of themselves, or just in general, pride being an issue, greed being an issue. Pride and greed apply to everyone. And I think a lot of people need to understand, because it's easy to point fingers at, well, he's a pastor, like he's supposed to be this godly man and everything. Yes, however, remember, he is a man. So he will sin. He has sinned. It will happen. Unfortunately, people like that give the church a bad name. And really, regardless of what church you come from. Now, I'm not talking about Scientology or like other things that are like way out there. I'm talking about like just normal Baptist, Christian, whatever, like more of the general
the
foundation.
Real God.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever you want to call that. So a lot of people need to understand, like, now this is pretty egregious, but when a pastor takes advantage of, I'm guessing he's taking advantage of people's money if he's flying in a private jet and stuff like that, that is against what the actual teachings are. That's not how it should be. And unfortunately, that gives a bad name. That's not what it's about. It's about giving back. It's about, and like I said, I don't know this guy. Maybe he has given back, but he's not living his life properly to what should be seen. And when you're a pastor, you should know, like, again, the pastor that I listen to at church talks about this all the time. He's like, how do you think my kids feel when they go to school and they find out that their dad's a pastor? You know, they all of a sudden they're on this stage, right? They have to be perfect. They have to, they can't cuss. They can't do other things like that. It's like, no, they're humans. They're gonna do stuff that they probably shouldn't. And I think there needs to be this, yes, are they supposed to be godly? Yes. But they're also people, and sins are sins, and they're going to sin. Now, you look at the Catholic Church, don't need to get too far on that. There have been some bad things in the Catholic Church. But unfortunately, that's just a person decided to sin that way, even if they are a father, pastor, whatever you want to call them. So,
but even on a smaller scale, so you have your pastor that you're familiar with, that you listen to every Sunday. If this weekend you go up to church and he pulls up in a McLaren, like, is that crossing the line? Like, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a human being, so I'm going to have opinions, right? I would have a little bit of an issue with it, especially after the conversation that we recently just had in church, right, of this not flaunting it around. I think it's different. Like you said, yeah. If he's showing up in like a brand new Corvette or something, I mean, a little different, but like, whatever. If you buy a brand new Chevy Suburban, like I don't.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like
car,
even those are like $100,000 nowadays.
But it's just the appearance.
Like, it's the appearance, but like I said, it's not necessarily like that one time. I don't want to say is you're full of pride, like you suck, right? It's this guy. And again, I don't know this guy personally. Okay, so I'm not trying to judge here. It's not my place to judge. But at the same time, the dude is flying out in a private jet to visit his cracked out daughter, supposedly.
Yeah.
He has fentanyl on him.
Right.
And he has several weapons on him, which is, you have a right to have weapons, but the problem is you choose Las Vegas. Like, it said in the article, ever since the shooting, what was it, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they crack down on that a lot harder, right? Like, no one's going to fly a plane low in New York. I'll tell you that right now. Same concept. You shouldn't go to Vegas, bring in guns in a hotel, because look what just happened recently. Like, dude, they're going to be on you like flies on crap.
But he's making these Facebook posts about his journey out to Las Vegas. Like, it's a saga that he needs to share with all of his followers. And he's like talking about how dangerous the streets are. And he said he has a video of him on his knees in front of Las Vegas Strip. And he says, "Wish me luck as I go to the most dangerous place in America." And I could see like, anybody that I know that's just like a square person saying that this is a life-threatening journey. Like, I don't know what I'm going to encounter down there. But like, sir, you do fentanyl. Like, you must be dealing with people like
Correct.
this somewhat regularly. Like, you've never found yourself in a position where you're having to deal with a shady character before when you're on fentanyl.
I mean, it's interesting. You look at like Matthew Perry, right?
Yeah.
He had doctors giving him stuff. So maybe
It could be like that.
Maybe because he's so high up, he's got some Dr. Feelgoods or whatever they call them, where they'll just like hand him some stuff on the side. I don't know. And I think people need to understand, like taking a look at this, there's a lot of red flags into like him, like if he's claiming to be a godly man, there's like a lot of red flags here where it's like you're not really following you're pointing out stuff right away. Like, why wouldn't even if she's on the street like and she hates you, you would think as a parent and out of the goodness of your heart, if you have that much money, pay for an apartment or like some type of roof to have over her head. Like, you can do that. Like,
yeah,
you can pay the rent or like, if you know what I mean, to give her something to live in. So like, it's just weird to me that he has all these toys and stuff that he wants to play with and drugs, but he like in the story, he comes off as this caring person. Everyone pray for me and stuff. And it's like, dude, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So,
well, he's getting the money and people are still buying it. I went onto their Facebook page. And people are just like, "Hey, what's the update? Did you find your daughter?" Like, they don't know what happened. Like, it's just mindless people out there. Like, the problem is that not a lot of people have critical thinking skills.
Correct.
And so
that's correct.
They don't ask questions about any of this stuff.
So,
yeah, crazy story though.
Yeah. All right.
What's next?
The other one we wanted to bring up to you guys is a Ugandan sprinter runner. Her name's Rebecca Chaptegei or something like that. Chaptegei.
Yes.
So she died recently. So she was set on fire by her boyfriend over a land dispute. And essentially he came into her house, and whether he broke in or not, I don't know. So it's weird is it didn't say ex-boyfriend, it said boyfriend.
Yeah, current boyfriend. I think they do live together.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they've been arguing leading up to that.
Correct.
About this land dispute. And as hard as I looked, I could not figure out what it is.
Same.
Except for the dad just said that this land has caused problems.
Right. So this is like some pet cemetery crap, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is nuts. So he sets her on fire, burns 75% of her body, which he also got burned a little bit. They both go to the hospital. She ends up dying with massive organ failure, all that stuff. He's still alive. This is nuts. So, like, the family's complaining because they're saying, well, they've reported, I'm guessing, domestic issues between them in the past. The government hasn't done anything. Now, was this when they're over in Uganda, it sounds like?
Yeah,
like
this is
isn't
in Uganda,
America. Like this
correct.
This happened in Uganda.
Yes, and
Okay.
they also share a few other instances in these articles where there was similar things happening in this part of the world with other high-level female athletes.
Yeah.
So in 2023, an Olympic runner and steeplechaser Benjamin Klipagat was found dead with stab wounds, and in 2022, Damaris Muthi was found dead, saying that she was strangled. And so for some reason, we have these high-level women that are getting killed over there, and it seems like there is, more misogyny, and I think domestic violence is just less, looked into over there. And you got to be running into issues when you are a woman in that culture who's very successful with guys that just want to be with you for your money. And so I'm assuming that kind of what was happening here is this guy was with her. She's making a good living off of being a runner, training other people. She probably has a nice piece of property, and then he wanted to get it from her. And she probably was being a little bit defensive about that, understandably. Even in America, if you're married and you have if you're super well established, you have all this property, and then you marry somebody that really doesn't have anything, you're understandably a little bit cautious about signing over half of that over to them because it's hard to tell someone's true intentions. They weren't even married. This is her boyfriend.
Correct.
And so why would he get anything? But
Right.
I guess he wasn't willing to accept that.
I mean, I'm thinking. So I get stuck on the set on fire thing. Like, was she sleeping when this happened? Like, it didn't really go too much into depth of like,
I don't know.
where she was sitting or like what, like, because
So it just says that he bought a jerry can of petrol,
Yep.
poured it on her, and set her ablaze during a disagreement. So they were arguing, and then he just pulled it out. He just did it.
Is she standing there? Like a jerry can, like you have to like kind of be standing there to like let this happen. Like, was it quick? Did he have like a quick match hanging on his thigh and then toss it on? Like, this isn't a Kingsford like spray or something,
Yeah, I don't know.
It's strange, dude.
I'm not sure how that
That's
happened.
strange.
I guess it probably doesn't take much. One splash, I guess, is all that you would need. But yeah, I mean, I would just book it as soon as someone took out that can.
Yeah, what?
I
mean, she's a sprinter.
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you think she could outrun him. I mean, unless he sprints too. I mean,
Right.
I don't know how else that happens unless you're caught in a house fire. But, like, I'm not going to stand there when someone is trying to, like, splash me with gasoline. Like,
And that's a brutal way to go too.
brutal.
Think that's why it's good that we have guns here, so that way if spouses are gonna kill each other, at least it's gonna be quick. Over there, overseas, they got acid attacks.
Yeah, dude.
You got
they'll
gasoline.
throw a tarantula at you
Right.
or something, Think about that. But it comes back to your story with the homeless guy. The dude that was in your yard and you're standing behind the door
Yeah.
and you're like, bro, like, is this going to happen?
Yeah,
here?
gotta
Like,
stab them up.
yeah,
And they always hear maybe this is just because in jail they have little tiny blades, but
Little
like you hear
shanks.
people get stabbed like 14 times and they live. Like,
oh, yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a bad way to go. And then you hear over in like people will say like, oh well, in Europe they don't have the school shootings and things, but then apparently they have a knife attack epidemic over there.
Where?
In like Europe,
Oh,
like the
really?
UK, like they have a knife attack epidemic.
Dude, that is wild that you say that, though, because I remember I actually met some people from New Zealand. And by the way, great accents. Love it. Could listen to them all day. They were talking about their police force out there. Their police don't carry handguns. They don't carry guns on them. They just don't. They have a gun in the car, but they don't carry guns on their person like we do here in America.
They just got a baton.
Pretty much, and
Yeah.
a taser. I think they also have like rubber bullets or like sim rounds or something that like is painful, but they don't have like lethal rounds. So, very interesting. It's interesting how the culture, right, is different.
Yeah, I guess if you're not gonna run into guns, then maybe you don't need them. But like, I don't know. As a police officer, should you be expected to know how to knife fight?
I mean, it's a good question, right? Like, maybe their training is in knife fight. Like, maybe they actually tactically train in that. You know what I mean? Like, we have an option at our department where you can carry blades on you, and you just go through a training course, and you can use those blades.
You can use the blades
for lethal force. If
That's
you need
pretty
to.
hardcore, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking Deadpool style.
Kinda.
It's like
Yeah, they're double-edged blades.
What?
And they just come out. Yeah.
that is crazy. I'd never seen that.
Well,
I don't know what I
because
would
if
make
someone's
of it.
reaching for your gun and you can't get them off, you just
Wow,
you.
that's crazy. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty hardcore.
Well, I mean, it's deadly force.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. But again, dude, that seems like if I was in that position, even though it's all deadly force,
Yeah.
to have to kill someone with a knife would be way more difficult.
Yeah.
And so to have that on.
I mean,
at
would
all
you
times.
rather run someone over or stab someone if you had to? Like, your life is on the line.
Definitely run someone over.
Okay.
It would be very tough to stab somebody, right? It would be like that'd be the most traumatizing way to do it. Surely, like,
Sure.
man, I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't have a lot to say about that athlete,
No.
but I guess it's just pretty crazy that happened because you get to see pictures of her, running, not too long ago, and I guess it's a real problem over there. So.
She died by fire again. That's
Yeah.
just another way. So, all right.
So, there was a lady named Zaire Dennis. She hops into a tiger enclosure.
Yep.
And it's hard to say what she was really trying to do, but like her hand was kind of going out, like, I don't know if she wanted to pet it or what. But then the tiger's like agitated and walking back and forth and kind of moves towards her. So she takes her hand away and she ends up like walking away. Well, then it's found out that she also has other charges on her from climbing into a bear enclosure, trying something similar.
Yeah.
And so she's just going around trying to like pet all these feral animals. And my only thought that really came to my head here was that like, I wish that if somebody gets arrested that they have to sit down for a mandatory interview just because I got to know what she was trying to do. Like I can't sleep at night not knowing what was going through her mind. Was it just that she was like she just wanted to pet it and she's just dumb? Or was it a
Very
dare?
possible.
Like I got to know what made her want to do this.
Very possible. All the above. It could be all the above. I don't know. I mean, this is like that Darwin theory, right? Like it'll take care of itself. Like I don't know. Sometimes there are people where if breathing was not autonomous, they wouldn't be alive, right? They wouldn't be able to think about breathing.
Yeah.
It happens. So maybe she's one of those people. Maybe she's like, that's just like my indoor cat, and I'm just gonna go say hi, and next thing you know, Tiger King happens, and now she's Tiger Queen, and she's dead. You know what I mean?
Well, some people don't have an appreciation for like the deadly force of nature. Like they just
For real,
I mean,
dude.
if you grow up in a city and you like when I grew up, like we got to go on vacations, and even more than a zoo, like you get to interact with animals more when you're like in nature, and so like you kind of get to have an appreciation for these things if you live in a family that goes out into nature and kind of experiences it. But if you're someone that lives in like an inner city and you don't really get out of that environment much, you don't go fishing or hunting or like, really have any real experiences with these sorts of animals that can hurt you, then, I mean, you think that they are just cuddly animals because they can be cute or like, beautiful creatures.
Yeah, dude.
But like she might have just not known how dangerous they are, thought they were like domesticated. I mean, she just might not have known. But it's hard to feel bad for her though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't... So you make a good point, right? So you've been outdoors. I'm an outdoorsman, right? Respect nature. Respect animals. Get that, right? Like, I ain't messing around with a bear. Not going to happen. Like, whatever. There are people, and you can watch this on TV shows. There's, like, the Life Below Zero or, like, other things like that. Like, Alaskan shows, Alaska State Troopers. How many times you watch those troopers? They're yelling at people to get away from this bear that's like running at them, and they're like, oh my God, like so cuddly and stuff. This bear's about to eat your face, man. Like these people, not everyone, but there are people that just have zero inclination that bear doesn't care about you. There is like polar bears. Polar bears are our predators. Like when we are there, we are prey to them. Like, we are not on top of the food chain. Also orcas. I'll get to that in a second. But polar bears, dude, they like actually will kill you. They are out there to eat you. Like, if you see a polar bear, get out of there because they will hunt you. That is a thing. So these people that I saw a video, this person's like openly swimming with wild orcas.
Okay.
I'm like, dude, you're psycho, bro. Like, they're like, oh no, they're so nice. I'm like, first of all, these orcas are as smart or smarter than us. Okay, they are very good socially. They know they're smart animals, bro. They could toss you. They do. They toss seals heavier than you, 50 meters in the air. Like, they're not
these
playing
are the
around.
These are like the Shamu type.
Big killer whales.
Killer whales, yeah.
Like,
and so there's a spectrum to this because there's some people that are just completely ignorant and dumb, like this lady most likely is.
yes.
Then there's other situations where you do have like the Tiger King scenario where that person spent a lot of time around tigers and probably knew full well the power of those beasts.
Yes.
And ends up getting their arm taken. And also you have these situations where you have like these orca trainers that end up getting eaten. Like, I feel like if you're in that position where you're really living closely with these animals, then you're knowingly taking that risk, and that's a little bit more respectable.
Yes.
The guy swimming with the orcas, yeah, it is insane, but so is like free solo mountain climbing.
Oh yeah.
You know, those are I would say I would rather swim with orcas, if I've done that before, than free solo mountain climb.
So here's a good example, right? So when we were out on our honeymoon in Cancun, we sat across the table with a person who's going to school to be a marine biologist. Okay, her weekly activities is open sea diving with sharks. Okay, tiger sharks, like real predators, not nurse sharks, not these little sand sharks, real big frickin' fish that want to eat you, including great whites. She's like, we'll go down there, we'll feed them, and then she's like, there's a rope at the end of the boat that comes down like an anchor. She's like, it goes one by one, and as you're going up, you have to do a 360 around the chain, because if you turn your back from them, you're like prey to them. So you have to like keep eye contact the whole time. And I'm like, what about that is interesting to you? Like, can I place you in Iraq and say, hey, walk across this IED field and just have a blast with it? No pun intended. Like, just have fun with it. Like, just don't step on something and you won't blow yourself up. Like, that's how I feel. Like, you're playing with something that is too dangerous. Like, if you got a tiger shark or two that, like, you may have harpoons, but, like, if they want to eat you, they're going to eat you. You know what I mean? You're in their domain. That, like...
Do you think she recognized that danger, though? I mean,
I think she would, but the problem is what do you do with it? Like, if you're in it, like you said, like, if you...
And when I say would she recognize the danger, I mean, like, do you think that she fully appreciates how dangerous what she's doing is?
Yes.
Like, you would agree with that, right?
100%.
So it's like you can at least respect it, and that's different than this lady here. But then you have something that's kind of the mixture of the two. Remember that guy that went and lived with the bears?
Yes.
And I forgot what that movie was called. But he was just this weird guy who was like gay or something like that. But it was back when like maybe people didn't accept him for it. So he just felt like he didn't belong anywhere. So he goes and lives with the bears, and then they end up like getting him. That guy was a mixture of the two, where he was like an amateur in a way, where I felt like he was a dumb guy who also went to go live with these animals. Like, he probably thought that he was an expert, but that's also not respectable. That's like... It's kind of on the level of this lady. But, like, the people that choose to do it knowing full well the power of these animals, like, you go and do you. That's respectable, and it's cool that you do that. But then you also can't really, like, blame anybody but yourself when something goes wrong.
Yep, for sure, 100%.
Then, like, I was thinking to other cases where this has gone horribly wrong, where, like, there was... case in Florida where a guy does something similar. He like snuck into a zoo or like stayed after hours. Well, the tiger gets his arm and wasn't letting it go.
Nope.
So like luckily there was someone there at the zoo that heard him screaming, and they call the police, and then the police go and get him. They have to end up shooting the tiger to get to save the guy's life, and that's
Harambe.
exactly it's a Harambe situation.
Yeah.
That's how it always ends up if these people have to suffer the consequence of their actions. The tiger really is the one
Dies.
that faces the consequence of their action.
And it wasn't their fault.
No, it's not their fault. So it's like, why do we value all human life over all animal life? Like if it's save the human or save the animal, even if the human 100% put themselves in the situation, like we are somehow like morally and legally obligated to like save that person.
I think some of that comes back to, though, is like you don't know how that situation may have occurred, right? So like if that person was drunk and just fell in, like to me that's a little different than like them consciously making a decision. Like in that point in like Harambe, right? Like this this massive gorilla, which, dude, gorillas freak me out, dude. Like those things can bend you in half in like 2 seconds. Like, let's assume, like, the kid was, like, a 15-year-old that you could communicate with while you're waiting for help or whatever. I'm not going to sit there and ask him, hey, man, like, how'd you fall in? And he's like, I wanted to say hi to him. Okay, sounds good. We're not going to save you. Like, that doesn't happen,
you can't
right?
ask those
You're just going to
questions.
go in and you got to take care of the situation, right? So it's like, I can kind of see, like, they're not going to weigh out, like, how did this occur? You know what
And
I
then
mean?
in
Like,
the Harambe situation, I mean, it was a child, so
yeah,
it's
dude,
like
that mom, like, bro, what? Like, you're like, oh, that's my child. It's like, do you want to admit that? Like, how did your child get into this silverback, like, enclosure? What are you doing? You know what I mean? So,
Dude, going back to these people that like put themselves in the presence of these animals, there's all these videos I've been seeing where people will go on some kind of gorilla safari, and so they'll be in the jungle, and they all have masks on, so that way I guess showing your teeth is a sign of aggression towards gorillas. So they have like COVID masks on, so and then they're in a pack or herd of gorillas. And those people like walking around, and the one video was titled like what it's like when a gorilla like pounds his chest, when they do that. And he was doing that in front of all these people. And like as this gorilla walks through, like all the people have to like look down because and recognize its dominance because it's like in their domain. And it seems like as long as they don't challenge the gorilla's dominance, then they're fine.
for the most
And
part.
people in the comments are like, actually, gorillas are really friendly as long as you don't show any signs of aggression. It's like we don't speak the same language. Like, how am I supposed to
That's what I mean.
know what their customs are?
Like they're intelligent animals, but they don't care about you.
And they don't communicate the same way we do.
Correct. There's no, like, they're not going to jail in Africa if they kill you. Like, they're just going to take you back and you're their dinner. Like that's, people don't understand, like, the strength and animosity of some of these animals. Like, gorillas, like, their finger has more strength than almost your entire body. So, like, if they facepalm you, like, their hand is going through your head. Like, there's no, like, that hurt, it scratched. No, you're done. Like, you're dead. So
They make it seem like it's the same as walking down like a bad neighborhood, like a bad street, where like, well, as long as you mind your own business and you're good. Like that doesn't, this because we're all humans. Like we have the same sort of communication style. Like I don't know how to avoid pissing off an alpha gorilla, a silverback gorilla.
Yeah.
But people go and do it, and it's just, and I don't know. Like, what do you make of those people that go? I mean, are they dumb, or are they just so interested in this wildlife that like they're willing to take that risk?
I think it's on the edge of the same concept of Mount Everest, right? Like, you're thrill seeking at some point, but you may have like an actual curiosity about it, right? Like, you may, now I wouldn't go as far as literally being 2 feet from a gorilla, but I would maybe, like, I could see myself like doing a helicopter flyover or something, I think it just depends on the person and their comfortability or stupidity in some points of how far they want to put themselves in that, right? Like, some people will cage dive with great whites. Some people will open dive with great whites. It just really depends on, like you said, like, what is your comfortability? Like, and stupidity, like I said, there's some stupidity there, but like the guy free swimming with orcas, like, I cannot stress enough how dumb that is. Like, I would look at this guy and be like, are you married? Like, do you like, I would call the wife and be like, you want to become rich? Get a life insurance policy and just let things happen.
Yeah, I think they would deny that claim.
Yeah, probably. Real quick. Yeah.
That'd
Oh,
be
he openly swam with orcas? Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, anyway. So,
Man. Yeah, that's it for that.
all right. So, our last one to discuss is the Austrian man. It doesn't really specify what type of accident he had, but he had some type of forestry accident. And so it sounds like he had a head injury, is my guess. He goes into surgery and finds out months later that the surgeon's teenage daughter, like 13-year-old, like helped drill a hole in his skull. And like, I don't know, I mean, you're lucky that you lived. I would be like, what? Like, what would you say to that? Like, obviously the guy, he's rich because he's going to sue. I mean, they already fired the main surgeon and said, and like somebody else, like an assistant or something.
I saw one that just said suspended.
Okay.
So
okay.
He may come back.
Okay. Well, they're gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
And that dude's gonna be rich for the rest of his life. But I mean, you're talking a 13. I mean, you got pressure on that skull. It's kind of like ice, right? You're pushing. Well, if you break through that skull, if you push too hard, that person is either going to be mentally disabled because some of their brain is now gone, or they're dead. So I don't know in what right mind. I don't care if it's Austria. I don't care where you're at. Why? First of all, what is your 13-year-old doing in the operating room to begin with? Too young. If it was like a 20-year-old, 19-year-old in the operating room, maybe. Like if she's like, Dad, I want to follow in your footsteps. I want to be a surgeon. Okay, just suit up. Don't touch anything. Watch me do my thing, right? Maybe I can see that. But when you're 13 and you hand over a drill to somebody's life pretty much, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, if I'm the hospital director, I'd be like, there's got to be, I guarantee you that dude's ledger has way more issues in there than just that. You know what I mean?
It was probably not her first time doing it.
Probably
Because
not.
she nailed it.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. So, he didn't know. Like, they went perfectly fine. So, she crushed it. She did the job good. So, I mean, she obviously has, like, some kind of practice. But, we can't have kids get hands-on experience anymore. Like, I've seen kids drive boats. I've seen them shred on the piano.
Dude, it's going to be like a freaking vehicle recall saying, hey, anyone who's had surgery from this guy in the last 5 years, if I was an attorney, dude, I'd be setting up lawsuits like it's going out of style, man.
Yeah, that whole organization is done.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, dude, there's...
But where do we draw the line on what kids can and can't do? Because you go to, like, pizza places, like, kids preparing your food, kids can be very talented at certain things. And, maybe that particular operation wasn't as hard as we think. Like, maybe that's just a simple thing, can't go wrong. Like,
No.
I'm not going to have her make an incision near any organs, but, like, she can do the drill part like that. No one can mess that up. An idiot could do that.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I feel like I know.
She did it right. No, you would have thought that. Hey, do you think that a 13-year-old would be able to drill into the skull and, not cause any issues and perform that operation? You'd be like, obviously not. But she did it, and
she did. Thankfully.
There's always going to be times in our lives that we are at the mercy of someone that's doing this for the very first time. Like, if you fly a lot, chances are sometimes you walk onto a plane and it's the pilot's first flight.
Yes. So interesting you say that. So it actually, yes, you're on the right track there. I actually looked into that. So with professions, especially pilots, a lot of times that is the case. A lot of their training is simulator based. So when you are getting in that plane, that is a true first time with actual live people in there. Okay, so now I'm not saying the simulator I'm sure is as real as it gets, right? They have air, like they have everything they could possibly need if things go wrong. What buttons do you press? Stuff, everything, right? But there's something to add to real life people are in your hands in this moment, Which, by the way, sorry to get off on a tangent here, why does everyone frickin' die in a plane crash? How have we not come up with a better, way for people to live? Everyone dies in a plane crash, dude.
You mean famous people and things?
No, just
oh, you mean like
hundreds of people die in one crash.
Because you're saying no one survives it?
Yeah, how have we not come up with a massive bubble or something that in case
improvements?
Well, you know what I mean?
I think that that's got to be a tough one, man. I mean, the amount of force being generated there. I mean, think of a car crash. There's car crashes where you're like, man, that was so fast that there's no chance anybody survive.
Yeah,
if you nosedive into
the
mountain. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do, probably what? I think if you jump at just the right time, then it actually negates the force.
You can roll on the ground. You're just rolling. You're just doing your ninja jump or whatever. Anyway.
But about the pilots, though, are you going to, next time you go on a flight, you're going to see if he's a little bit too excited?
Yeah.
How nervous is my pilot right now? But, I guess there's always going to be those times. And with the pilot thing, there's cases where something happens to the pilot. He has a heart attack or something. And then a passenger who is not a pilot just gets up and then safely lands the plane. And so that's a perfect example of something where you're like, hey, do you think that you could take the reins on a commercial airliner and land that safely on a runway? You'd be like, there's zero chance that I could do that. But you actually might be able to do it. It might be easier than you think. So this drilling incision might be easier than we think.
Maybe.
It might have just been a simple thing.
Maybe.
And the guy is he's obviously smart. He's not an idiot.
Right.
He's a neurosurgeon.
Correct.
And so he kind of knows what you can let your kid do and what you can't.
Maybe.
I wouldn't let my 10-year-old drive a car, but when you have farmers and stuff, they'll let their 10-year-olds drive tractors around because they just kind of know what the dangers are.
Yeah.
So they're just in that world. So it might not be as dangerous. I mean, I would sue too. I would get all the money. Absolutely. I'd be mad. Okay. But I'm just saying, that might be more common than we think because there was multiple people in that surgery room that didn't say anything about this. And so, the whole group of surgeons, if you've ever been in a surgery room, and I guess you will be when your wife gives birth, there's a surprising amount of people in that room.
Okay.
And so if I imagine if I walked into that room when Christy was giving birth to my daughter and there was a 13-year-old there, there's so many people in there, I might be like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess back to the plane thing, it might be the same situation as far as that person who's ever at a tower is going to talk you through as best they can for you to land that freaking plane. And kind of I'm sure her dad was
exactly.
But
the whole time he was there.
They do an X-ray on his skull and there's a rubber band from her braces or something sitting there. You know what I mean? At what point? There's got to be a stop. There's got to be hey man, even a 16-year-old I wouldn't have doing cop stuff. You know what I mean? If I was hey, we have a person who with a knife in this church here, and I'll stand next to you or I'll have an earpiece and I'll do you and I'll try and coach you through it. I guarantee you people in that church would be absolutely not.
Yeah.
They'd be I want the professional in here, something to deal with this, There's got to be some, maybe, I don't know, maybe the Austrian laws allow 16-year-olds and he's just kind of cutting the edge a little bit.
Right.
I don't know,
Isn't it amazing how much faith we put into people just based on the outfit they're wearing? Because you walk onto a plane, never once in all the planes that I've taken have I questioned the authority of the pilot.
Nope.
Just because he's got the right outfit on.
So there's actually been studies on police uniform stuff. So it says that the more squared away you look, shined up, boots are shined, badge looks good, uniform's not wrinkly or anything like that, your chances of getting in a physical altercation drop dramatically. People actually see you as he's got his stuff together, he looks sharp, his stuff looks in order, he's not disheveled. I could take this guy type of thing.
Yeah.
No, he's squared away. He's got his stuff good to go, ready to go. It actually has shown, and there have been people that have been arrested that have admitted the reason why they didn't fight is because it looked like that person could handle themselves.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
So yeah.
And I bet that applies just to everyday life too. I mean, you can wear something where objectively nothing's wrong with your clothes, in your choice of what you're wearing,
Sure.
but just your hygiene and the way that you present yourself. There's a lot of people that might wonder why things don't go their way or like why they don't get along with people, and a lot of it might have to do just with the way they carry themselves
Sure.
and the way that they, clean up. And if you just are a little bit relaxed on that, people automatically are not going to give you a chance.
Correct.
That's
So,
interesting. I never thought of that.
yeah. So
Cool, bro. That was a good one.
awesome. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and please tune in for next week. We got more fun topics to talk about. Thank you.